Ooh, here's today's clutch, and this is actually pretty good for the winter. Most hens stop laying or significantly reduce laying in the winter. There were 2 hens going into the fall that had already stopped laying, and we currently have 14 hens. So let's see, 12 hens could or might be actually laying. So 2, 4, 6 in a day is pretty wonderful for not quite the middle of January. Hey everybody, welcome back to Go and Grow Homestead. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a follow-up video and show you an example of a sick chicken that didn't make it. So to start, I want to do a follow-up on the 2 videos that I did the last couple of days, in particular the one where I discussed actual chicken injuries and illnesses, the different types of things that can come up. There were 2 really common ones that I just completely forgot to mention, and they're important, so I wanted to go over them. So the first one would be if one of your chickens becomes egg-bound. Obviously this affects the hens, and it's something where an egg can get stuck in that reproductive tract on its way out. That is a very serious illness for a chicken. If this happens and the egg breaks inside the chicken, it almost certainly ends up killing them. Very rarely do they survive. The reason for that is because there are broken eggshells and the egg matter itself stuck in the tract. It causes infection and they just can't survive. Also, just having the egg stuck itself can cause them to pass away. The reason for that is obviously there's a blockage, a backup. That part of their body, of course, is meant to keep things moving in an assembly line-like fashion, so you cannot have a blockage there. There are some ways to tell. You can look up symptoms online for when a hen might be egg-bound, but also if you determine and think that that's what the issue is, you can actually feel the egg inside the hen on the bottom, kind of like what we would say is like the chest or stomach area, but basically the bottom of the chicken. You'll feel a lump that isn't normally there, that shouldn't be there, and that'll give you an indication for egg-bound. Treatment for that is Epsom salt bath. So you want to designate a container inside your house just for chicken bath purposes. Small container, something that they can sit in. Usually people will take like a plastic container, one of those very small storage containers, cut a hole in the lid, put the warm water and Epsom salt in there, put the chicken in the water, and then put the lid on so that their head can come up through the lid. Obviously, if you take a chicken inside your house or your pole barn or your basement or wherever, and you're putting in an environment it's not used to being in, I have some people pecking at my boots here, then they're going to just try to get out of it as soon as you put them in there. So that's kind of the reason for putting the lid on, but obviously, you know, giving a place for their head to be out of the container. And then they can't go anywhere. The timing on that, I can't remember how long you're supposed to leave them in the bath, but you can look that up online. And then, and I think it's any Epsom salts from the store. I have bought some and I have a designated container on hand. And then the chicken will be very calm once you kind of let it know, like, hey, this is where you're going to have to sit for a little bit. Obviously, keep that supervised and don't leave them alone during that process. Check on them frequently. The goal is to get the hen to pass the egg and resume normal activity. It can just happen if, you know, that's one of those things that particular chicken might be prone to, or if the egg is particularly large that they're trying to, you know, lay. Again, you really want to try to help them through that and get it out. Some people are very successful with that. Sometimes it's not successful. But another thing too that you might notice if it's a little too late, or at least if the egg has broken inside too late in that way, is that they're going to have yellow egg yolk coming out of their vent rather than regular poop. So it causes a blockage in that area as well, and that's not good either. Hi! Girls just really want me to give you treats. Oh yeah, get up close. Yeah. So the other thing that I forgot to mention was pasty butt. Pasty butt technically and typically happens to chicks shortly after they have hatched, and can be caused by lack of water, poor food or not enough food, and in the shipping process, the stress from being moved, etc. So people talk about it more at those very early stages of lives, or that it's more common in younger hens. And obviously, very simple solution for correcting that. Make sure they have food, water, and that they're in a comfortable, safe environment. What exactly is pasty butt? That's when there is their poop builds up around their vent, which is their butt. Are you being mean to your sister? Okay. And obviously that's going to cause a blockage. And that also just means that there's problems inside, likely due to dehydration, and you don't want that for your chickens. However, I'm trying to catch them. Of course, they're both way in the back there underneath and now Texas is blocking them, underneath the coop in that part of the run. But if you go back and look at the video that I posted for yesterday, where we talk about the many different types of chicken illnesses, you'll see these two girls, and they both have what I'm essentially calling pasty butt. They are almost 2 years old, and they still have this situation going on. So here's my disclaimer about that. Obviously, definitely pay attention to it in younger chicks and help them, and it's an easy thing to help them through, right, and get that corrected. Those two girls back there, they are purebred American breast chickens. They actually belong to a family member of ours that were we kind of were doing chickens together initially. So they're from the same hatchery in the same season, essentially. So they're, we definitely call them sisters. But they have had this excessively dirty vent issue from day one. They've also otherwise been our healthiest chickens. I mean, we have a lot of healthy chickens, but we've never had any issues with those two that we had to help them through. They're not showing signs of sickness or illness otherwise, like I said. They don't have any physical injuries, etc. But if you notice in the other videos, and you can see a little bit here in this one, both of their butts, they're caked at the vent with poop. I've also noticed, I've watched them poop, and the other chickens, and I know I captured this in the other videos, so if you want to go back and really examine that, you can. But when our other chickens, and it doesn't matter what the breed is for the rest of them, when they poop, they kind of lift their tail, they kind of move their feathers out of the way just a little bit, and it's this very targeted, quick poop. It shoots right out in a nice neat pile on the ground, and then they just they do this while they're walking, so they keep moving on. Those two girls, it kind of dribbles out of them, so I think that's part of why that happens. We've done a lot of research in terms of what could be causing this for them. Of course, mostly what it comes down to is potentially the food that they're eating. We have changed the food several times to try to accommodate these girls. No food that we've tried has changed this situation for them or worked. Last summer, I took them each individually inside our house into our bathtub. I cleaned their butts up for them. And then I was like, well, they have a lot of feathers back. I mean, they all do. You can't see their butts when they're walking around, hence see that golden one that just went under there with them. You can't really see the vent. Everything is feather covered back there. But I was just like, well, they seem to have a lot of feathers back here. Maybe that's the issue. So I just trimmed their butt feathers with a pair of scissors. I was like, all right, good. They're clean. We've trimmed their butt feathers. Let's see what happens. The next day, they looked exactly the same again. So, and like I said, this situation with them has not affected their health. So that's kind of my disclaimer here, is that you can have this situation, and sometimes, yes. I mean, you definitely want to look into it, pay attention to it, see if you can correct it or determine if there is a reason for this excessive poop being stuck to their vent and their rear end. But I'm just going to say at this point, sometimes there isn't a specific reason for that you need to do something about. Because it has not affected the health of those two girls. They're doing fine. One of them was a very good layer. The other one struggled to lay a little bit, but I don't think has anything to do with the poopy rear end. And again, look at all these other fluffy butts that are just fine. You see a little bit right there on that girl, but Obviously, with all the feathers that are back there, they're going to have that happen. They're just so sure that they're getting treats, which I completely understand, but I think we're out, girls. The next video that I'm going to attach is of the chicken that we had pass away shortly after Christmas. That video is really helpful because one of the questions you're probably asking is like, well, how, you know, other than some of the things we've already mentioned about a chicken standing around, not moving very much, or puffing their body up. Sometimes they puff up because it's cold and it's winter, so that's obviously a thing right now. But other than those things, like what else are we looking for? And how else are you going to be able to tell if you have a sick chicken and it doesn't seem to be as obvious? So in this video, you're going to get a really good look at that because that girl, unfortunately, she didn't make it, but she definitely had some very clear signs of illness. We go over that in great detail in that video. And I shot it, like I said, it's been almost a couple weeks ago now, but it was when I was shooting a different video for the series here. And I said, you know, I'm going to take some time to just record what's going on with her. But obviously, leg health, that's an indicator. Leg and foot condition is an indicator of an illness. Comb and wattles. So the comb obviously is the part that's on their head. The wattles are the circular part that stick down. So are those healthy? Are they a healthy pink or deep red color? That's also a good indicator of circulation. Right now they're a little bit chilly, so they're lighter pink, some of them. That's okay. That's winter. In the summer, they're all, you know, very, very deep red, much like how Texas's comb looks now, comb and wattles. And then their ears are right there as well. Let me see if I can try to get somebody who's moving a little bit less. Their ears are that other, on her, you can see it pretty well, the other pink thing just behind and below her eye there. That's like an ear flap, and then when you move the feathers out of the way, there's ears there as well. And then, of course, their eyes. They can be prone to having issues with their eyes. Parasites can get into them, or just like us, any kind of like debris or allergen could get in there and cause them some temporary irritation. So those are some things. And then again, you're just going to notice, like I've said in the videos before, they're constantly moving. If you think about it, they're kind of twitchy, they're jerky, they move very quickly. You'll know if there's one in your flock that's just not behaving like the others. So without further ado, we will show you that video. Okay, I'm going to be doing a video later on chicken illnesses and just troubleshooting that, and just some of the basic starting things to look for with your sick chickens. But because we have one right now who is not doing as well in comparison to the other chickens, I wanted to take a minute to shoot some video of that to show you what I'm talking about. So for example, the chicken that I want to focus on today is our beloved Cute Nice. See if I can get her to stand still there for a minute. So there's a few things you'll notice. She's a smaller chicken, and sometimes they do puff up in the winter to keep themselves warm. But she's very puffed up right now, not kind of a typical, comfortable, normal stance for them. And then the other biggest telltale with her is her comb. Look at the rooster and all of the other hens. Very vibrant red, healthy looking. That's a healthy comb and wattles. And you notice hers is kind of pale. It's also flopping over to the side. Let's see if she will let me get that. Hi, girl. Hi. It's also just not her norm. She doesn't normally look this way. So there you can see how it's flopped. And sometimes chickens have floppy combs. But again, that in comparison to, look how bright red that chicken is. That breed of chicken has a much smaller comb, but that's normal for that chicken. And then just some of the behaviors. So we started to notice that she was puffed up and just standing still. We would come out in the morning to check on the chickens. It's been about a week now that she's been acting like this herself, not looking the healthiest there. Just all of her stuff is kind of shriveled up. You see her wattles don't quite look right, again, in comparison to healthy ones. And she's not moving much. You see just kind of the jerky, constant motion that the other chickens are in. She's not so much. Anyway, some of the things to look for when you think a chicken is ill You're going to check their comb and wattles, which we're focusing on right now. You're going to check their feet. Feet can have scaly leg mites or like a physical injury. So if everything looks fine there, it's probably not a foot situation. Ruffle their feathers, pull back their feathers in several areas and see if you see any lice or mites. She does not have any. I don't think we have that. I mean, you're going to get bugs because they live outside, but they're all taking care of that with dust bath and healthy coop, healthy diet, keeping it clean in there for them, and they're eating good food. And then you want to check their rear if you can. That's kind of hard. There's a lot of feathers back there that cover that up. But she doesn't seem to have any of those obvious external problems. And one of the things that we've read a lot about with the comb, and that being the telltale sign if it's turning, this is a different kind of purple. It looks dry, which to me, you know, it almost looks like she has flaking skin coming off of it. So to me that, oh, she got a little feisty for a minute. That's a good sign. I don't know though, she's not doing the best. So as I was saying, one of the things can be a circulatory problem. So they can have poor circulation or heart issues. I guess that's a relatively common thing with chickens. So again, this is kind of a nice grouping. You see how vibrant red the other combs are and hers just isn't, especially if it was before. So that's one of those things that you're going to get to know the habits of your chickens, and you'll be able to know very quickly if something is wrong with one or a couple of them. And then you can start investigating. Look at all of those external things that I was just noting. If you think there's some kind of problem, another thing you want to do obviously is check on your coop and your run. Have we not cleaned it in a while? Is it not clean enough? Do we have some kind of bug infestation in there? People get all kinds of, lice and mites are the most common, but people get all kinds of bug infestations. Make sure they always have plenty of clean water and food. Those are the obvious next things. And then if nothing's wrong there, and especially if it's just one chicken that's having an issue, then unfortunately it's just that one chicken afflicted. Again, we don't take our chickens to the vet. We care very much about them, and we want them to have a good chicken life, but we're not taking a chicken to a vet just to find out that, well, it's a common backyard chicken with a common backyard chicken problem, and it's going to die when it dies, and it is what it is. There's not a lot that they can do for them. Now, certainly if you have a bug issue or a worm issue, that's going to infect your whole flock. And there are medicines for that you can give them. You can, put things in their food, put things in their water to help with that. But again, that's going to be something that all of the flock is bothered by. Her, I think we just unfortunately have a circulatory issue. See this? There you go. Just kind of trying to give her the best care that we can and keep an eye on her, and hopefully she pulls through, but we don't know for sure that she's going to. See that comb right there? That's what I'm trying to show you in this. It should be straight up. This is one of the chickens I wanted to show you. So this girl has always had a floppy comb. So behind the rooster here. Her behavior is normal. This is normal for her. The color of her comb is normal. She's, doing what we would expect her to do. Her comb's just like straight up folded right over, which is funny because she came from the same exact flock as this girl. They're sisters, and their combs look completely different. But anyway, also this is another great reason for sand in the run. I can get past here without the rooster getting mad. Watch out. They're dust bathing back there, which is great. That is how they keep bugs off of themselves.